Google. Let's go get them again.
Welcome back to the Robezoid channel. I'm your host, Mark, and welcome to your Sampling Samples Saturday. Today it is on the brand of Dolce Gabbana and part of the One lineup. This one called the One Luminous Night. This is your subscriber's choice winner from weeks back, where it received 42 whopping votes. No other scent against it received more than 10 votes. So it was the runaway winner. And I'm expecting at least 42 views, 42 likes on this video, at least. I'm doing your dirty work, so help me out here. But all kidding aside, this is one I'm really intrigued about. I like the One lineup. Yeah, it does have its, its restrictions. People talk about longevity and projection, things like that. But I feel like this, and this is a Middle Eastern, exclusive. That line of the One, I really like. And I'm a big One fanboy. I like the original. I like the EDP. I love the line. It's not a standout line, but it's a very good one, especially when you start looking at the Dolce Gabbana lineup for men. This is a home run as far as their line. So let's see what we get out of this one. The blue bottle. And first and foremost, if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate if you haven't hit that subscribe button. Hit it, smash that like button at the same time, much appreciated. Get me into the realms of the influencers of the world. So now let's go under the hood. Let's take a look at some stats on this one. It was released back in 2021. The nose behind this is a Jean-Christophe Hero All-Star nose, I believe. The nose behind Aventus. So already people dub them All-Star nose. Notes in this, the big notes for my nose is amber. This is an amber-based scent, in my personal opinion. It goes from start to finish. You do have a very interesting note of dates, so fruity. And I kind of like this kind of melange that they put fruity notes with darker fragrances. Usually that works, usually. So dates is that X factor, and then sandalwood. You actually get quite a bit of sandalwood in here. So let's delve into it. Let's sniff this one out. It is my scent of the day today, but I do have this sample from, where did I get this? It's got a little sticker. It's not saying, I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, I paid for this, probably a lot, like 10 bucks. But at least I get a video and I get to know what it is. Let's launch this. I'm done with it. And off the bat, and I do have it on strip here that I usually do with testing, especially if I have one with an atomizer that sprays. The Lucky Scent dips, I don't put it on the strip. So up top, the One Luminous Night screams complexity, as there's an excellent contrast of lighter notes that we're going to speak about and darker notes. So a lot of the fragrance reviewers, really emphasize the darker notes in this, but I feel like the lighter notes really give this fragrance complexity. And in most cases, the lighter notes kind of get engulfed by the darker notes and they prevail. And this is what happens here, but I felt like the lighter notes gave this fragrance complexity and some great touches. So let's get into it. So what I get out of this introduction is ambery sweetness, spices, herbal qualities, and some bright minty nuances. And that really caught me off guard, because really, like, what I was seeing in thumbnails and that in when this thing got launched was dates, incense, I think, and sweetness. That's what was the major thing out of this one. And I wasn't really expecting something like this. So let's start with the spices. Now the spices, which is mostly black pepper in here. The black pepper is not too piquant. And what do I mean by that? It just doesn't have that three-dimensional. It doesn't, Marc Jacobs bang. The black pepper in there is just really robust. It will tickle your nose, and some people that don't like black pepper, they're gonna absolutely hate that fragrance. Here, it's blended into the fragrance. That's what I kind of mean, is that it doesn't elevate itself on top of the fragrance. Now, knowing this is a Middle Eastern release, you may think there's Middle Eastern spicy qualities here. When you're talking about Middle Eastern release, you're starting to look for those oud, saffron, rose. You start looking for maybe cumin, things like that. There's no Middle Eastern spicy quality here. There really isn't. Actually, the scent doesn't really scream Middle Eastern to me. It doesn't really scream Middle Eastern exclusive. It felt actually really like a dark top seller. And it may remind you of some top sellers that are already out from the past. However, I think where this one kind of wins is the blend. The blend in here is outstanding. Now the spices are met with an ambery sweetness in the background, which will always be there. But on top of that, and I feel like they're separated, it's a date note. And the dates and the amber, again, like I said, again, with some fragrances, you just have a bowl of sweetness and it just, you know, certain notes just meld together and they just give you the, in this fragrance, it really felt separated. Now, sometimes that's a bad thing. Like it just feels like not well blended. Here, it really feels like the amber is here and it's your base and the dates are kind of like sitting on top of that. It's a different type of sweetness. The dates is the X factor in this release. And that's what a lot of people want to hear, is that the dates is the X factor. It is. And it is a good reason that it separates itself versus other sweet designer scents. And that's the real X factor of this one. The date note is slow to come in the introduction. So it does have like this one little period that you're just like, yeah, it's sweetness, like the ambery glow with the black pepper. And then, oh, here comes the dates. But eventually it shows itself. And once it does, it is front and center for the life of the scent. The dates note at times smells syrupy. Almost like they're sticky sweet, perhaps made for a dessert. It feels like this date note always sits on top of the amber, not the same kind of sweetness. It's quite beautiful and it is the star of the show. And and again, like the spices, it's not culinary, like culinary, well, black pepper's culinary. Come on, Mark, let's go work. But it doesn't feel like, you know, you got that cinnamon cloves, like it's going into this dessert thing, but it really feels, and again, it doesn't go gourmand because of those reasons, but it really feels like it's sitting on top of the amber. It is the star of the show. The dates, the spices, the ambery glow interplay. They play well together in the sandbox. It give the scent an air of mystery. It's rich, it's warm. It has a little bit of resinous quality. Really great introduction. Now, running into the background, and I'm still into the introduction here, is there's an herbal quality in here that a lot of people kind of miss. And I understand why it is running in the background. You may miss it. It is basically the basil, the sage, and the geranium. Now, a lot of these notes do give out same familiar facets, so we're going to get into that. Now, the herbal floral trifecta of geranium, sage, and basil can all give off minty aspects, and they clearly give it in Luminous Night. Their minty accord, which is, it's faint, and you're getting it from, you know, different aspects, but it's faint, but it gives the scent air pockets of uplifting aura. So it kind of goes into this whole idea of a luminous night, like a light in the darkness. And maybe I'm getting a little too artsy for you, but it almost feels like that is the light in the darkness of this fragrance. Basil, sage can also give off peppery nuances, which could aid that black pepper in the scent. Again, not too strong. So the herbs, even though being knocked down by this ambery sweetness and the dates, still make their mark in the scent. And if you know, maybe if you missed it, go revisit this fragrance and you'll see that there's those air pockets in this release. That's really interesting. And again, I only got like a little decant and I think I wore it 3 times, not including, so there's 4 times out of this decant. So I had a lot of good testing, and that's why it took so long, because I had 4 testings. But you start feeling also a little bit of that sandalwood. And it's a creamy woody aspect here, which will amplify in the dry down. So you're getting woody aspects up top, but they're very minimal, and it just continues to amplify while the sugary sweetness kind of mellows down. So you're gonna get that, and it really does well in this dry down. There's a little bit of smoke from the incense. Again, I gotta be careful, you know, because it's a Middle Eastern exclusive, people see incense in the note breakdown, they think probably it's a big factor. I would not say that. It's a very good secondary note. I felt more of the sandalwood in this scent than the incense. To just give you a good example on how low in the totem pole the incense is in this scent profile. So you're gonna get some resonance qualities, you're gonna get a little bit of smoke, but it really isn't a big, bold incense profile in here. It really is, let's go back to, it's an ambery, dates, woody aspect, a little bit of smoke, which kind of gives it some complexity. You're getting some herbal qualities, you're getting some peppery nuances, and then you're getting that minty quality. Again, very minimal minty quality. Now let's go into the mid and the dry down. Amber is clearly your number one scent profile, so it's a sweet scent, and it's gonna go into that in the back end, but the sandalwood and the incense do climb the ladder a little bit more while you start losing that minty uplifting quality here. You get a mild, and I mean mild, again, there's a lot of this stuff that the blending is great, the overall idea is there, but there's small nuances here. So you're getting a little rosy feel from the geranium in the mid, but lose it as fast as you as it appears. So almost a non-factor in this release, but I did want to mention it. If you do smell kind of like a little bit of a floral factor in the mid, not a big factor. I really loved, and I have to say this, I really love the impact of the sandalwood in here. I didn't think I was going to get that much of an impact out of it in the back end. The black pepper does start playing little peekaboo tricks on my skin, so it goes in and out of the scent a little bit in this back end. I felt I lost it in the mid, and then it came back a little later, kind of continuing to give out some piquant to this fragrance. Again, not too much. Obviously, it has some vanillic tendencies, aspects from the ambery glow. So you're gonna get some vanillic tendencies. So that is your sweetness in here, again, with the dates, the fruity dates, but mostly more resinous to make kind of an ambery accord. Very complex for a designer scent. Very well blended. That is one thing. It's very smooth also. Well done. Overall, I can sense a little bit of a Middle Eastern inspired take here, but really, and I do love that, but it really keeps that one DNA, which makes it more appealing to a westernized nose, which obviously it's missing, you know, its key component of tobacco of the original, but it still has that allure, that blend. It really is really well done. It's a winner in my books, mostly because of the contrast of notes, the blending, the journey it took me, but it's clearly a designer scent, so it has its limitations, but it's a very solid designer scent, and that's basically what you got to do as a fragrance reviewer, is kind of just look at it and call it what it is. So let's get into seasons, day, night, versatility, and performance. Seasons, fall, spring, and winter, but I have to emphasize fall. I think that's the best place, especially in Canada here, where we get all seasons very hard. So, you know, winter's a -40. This thing might get into a whisper, even though it does have some pretty good performance actually for the one flanker. Day or night, I feel like this is more of a nighttime, and obviously it just really has that darkness to it. I could see this during cooler months, during the day, casual use, things like that, sure. Versatility, fairly average. You can dress this up, you can definitely dress this down. Again, an excellent scent. Versatility is fairly average. There's no real limitations here. There's nothing crazy out of this fragrance that you're just like, oh, I better not wear this, you know. Versatility, average. Performance, and that's always a sticking point when you're talking about the one and the line. People want always their designers to blast through doors. I don't know why, but it is. It is what it is, and it is your money, so you have your choice of fragrances that can do that. For me, I could see the appeal of, you know, some that perform and some that don't. But this one performs fairly well. Longevity, 7 to 9 hours. So longevity is there. I had no issues with this for, you know, that 7 to 9 hour gap. It really worked well. Average projection, so it's not a beast. It'll get closer to skin after a few hours, as most fragrances do. I never felt like it was a really bombastic fragrance, and there's a lot of designers that are well made like this that almost intrigue people to come closer to you, and that's basically the idea of this. It's so well blended, well, you know, in the air it does really well. Now my final thoughts on this one, and this is what the designer realm is missing in the winter fall spectrum. Fragrances like this. These Middle Eastern releases are quite good. Like I'm thinking, you know, Stronger With You line from Armani, and this line, it's almost criminal not to share those fragrances with the rest of the world. I prefer what Dolce & Gabbana is doing than actual what Armani is doing, if you ask me. But these should be released in the normal line, even as a short-lived, limited edition to the Western noses. I'd love to see that, just these small gap of, like, you know, when they do summer editions, like why can't they do winter editions of limited edition? I know people still get mad, like discontinued, blah, 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 but at least we get them. The one thing I did take from this one is that it's smooth. And that is one thing that I always look at as a fragrance reviewer, especially in the designer realm. You can have some choppy fragrances, ones that you could tell that they cut corners. Things just aren't working together. And I was kind of intrigued when the amber and the dates met and they were separated. And I don't know if a lot of you don't really know what I'm talking about. What is he talking about, that the sweetness goes together? It just, throughout my journey, I've had fragrances that sweetness just goes like in a big ball of sweetness and you just kind of don't know where it comes from. Here you really, it's a different type of sweetness, a fruity one versus an ambery one. So this might be one of the best of the line, personally, for me. The only issue with this one is how limited it is, how much people want to take advantage of you and separate you from your money. This thing sells out quite quick when it's available at discounters, things like that. And discounters do the same thing. They up the price of these knowing that the US doesn't have it. So they take advantage. The price is almost like, and again, you're paying so much for Sauvage Elixir. You're paying probably around $200 Canadian, give or take, for that stuff. This is almost in that realm. And that's another video on its own, that designer and niche fragrances are getting very close to price point to each other. Like, where were the days of, you know, designer fragrances being, you know, $100 to $75, and at discounters they were like, you know, $80 to $40. That gap is there. That's where these clone houses are grabbing all that money. But as far as price, I don't hold your purse strings. I don't hold your wallet. But it's a solid scent from the brand of Dolce & Gabbana. At the end of the day, as far as pricing goes, it is worth retail designer pricing, whatever that is in your country. But other than that, you know, if you start looking at people taking advantage of you, I don't see this being a must-have. I don't see a huge difference out of this. Like, it's not like one of those designer fragrances that's like, I know this thing gets a lot of hype, and a lot of designers do get a lot of hype, especially when you can't get your hands on it. Do I think this is head above, you know, a lot of really good designer fragrances? No, this is not a huge standout fragrance. It's just a very good designer. Should you spend crazy money on this? That's up to you, but I would say no. Like, because of FOMO, it's a good scent. I'll give it its flowers. And I think it's one of the better, the one releases. But, you know, I wouldn't be spending whatever it is on the market now, $250, $300. God, no. You know, mid hundreds, yeah, like one, you know, retail, 125, 140, maybe, give or take. That's in the realm of like things like Jean-Paul Gaultier's releasing it at that price now, things like that. I could see that. But a really good, excellent scent from Dolce & Gabbana. I'm very happy. Like, I own most of the one lineup. This one is definitely on the docket. So if I had to give it a score currently out of 10, it's not going to hit 10. It's not. I'm just kind of thinking here. I'm going to give it a 9 bottles out of 10. An excellent designer scent. I didn't see any, you know, as far as build goes, there's a lot of good stuff here. Blending's great. I really love the X factor, which is dates. You don't see that everywhere, and it's the sexy note that everybody wants it to be big, and it was big. Great ambery glow, good ratio of spices. I really like the greens, the herbs that came in, the floral of geranium that did their thing, but it was really more in the background. Sandalwood kind of surprised me. Performance is good. So there's a lot of pluses here, and well-deserved of a 9 out of 10 for me. I think is an excellent, excellent designer scent. Now that you've heard my take, I'd love to see yours in the comments below. And I know a lot of you have been waiting for this review. So I'm happy to finally deliver it. And as always, a great pour fragrance will make a lasting impression choose the one flanker wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.